now as well. The Fury is going to be immediate first pick by FPX. They're going to feel very happy with that one.
Yeah, Shadow dominated on this yesterday. One player of the game got 12-0-14 on it. So absolutely, right? We'll take the Neferi hands down.
They get the potential Rumble lock-in, but now you have to think about the chess moves being played here. Ultra Prime get 2 lock-ins. They choose the Rumble and the Varus. They're waiting on to see what the choice is going to be for the top lane matchup by FPX.
Yeah, I do think the Varus is a very good takeaway here, and they've taken the Rumble knowing that the Gwen's going to get picked up as a response care back on the Galio, so again, they have a bit of time to just be a threat once more. So he's not necessarily going to be the damage, but he's definitely going to be doing his line's share of CC and tanking. And I love this pickup for presumably Junhao, potentially Xiaoxia as well, to say, okay, I can pick a Poppy here. You've got triple dashes. Let's stop that.
Yeah, it's massive. I mean, FPX are just going with what worked for them in that best of one that worked earlier, right? The same pieces that they grabbed in the earlier series, but now Ultra Prime say we have answers. We have decisions that we can make to try to shore this up. Also, some respect to their previous picks. Like, they are literally just banning away the things that worked in game number 1 for them. It is going to be the Nautilus as well as the Yone to start off the second phase of bans.
Yeah, there's the saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But then somebody will break it for you, and that's the ultimate end here. That Ultra Prime have gone, yeah, we're just going to decide your composition is not allowed to function again, so we'll take this bit out of it, we'll take this bit out of it, and I like that they've taken away this Kalista here as well. The thing that they were kind of missing, or are missing still, is that element of bot side priority in an area that they can attack. The Varus is going to win out in that bot lane with the AD carries for the most part, and the Kalista may be one of the only picks that could have gone toe-to-toe with it. When you've got a Galio in the mid lane, you want 2 strong side lanes to try and enable, and that's what FPX are looking for in that bot lane.
The Pantheon ban comes through, and we don't want to deal with that just in case. So you can see a little cheeky smile there from Saber. It is going to be the Alistar locked in from Xiaoxia, so he'll get the same thing they just won with in that last game.
And now counter pick once again going into what you would think is Saber, so a potential chance that this Rumble gets flexed around a little bit, but I'm very curious as to why they took the Alistar here instead of taking the mid lane pick when they see topside for FPX. They now got themselves counter picks down on that bot side in the support role. And Jwei here teasing us a little bit with some spicy picks, but the MF plus Nico does do very well. And, you know, just the innate synergy of, well, we have circles once again. It might just be good.
It's the most OP strat in League of Legends in 2025. Get as many circles as you possibly can. Feels just like we're back at some point in 2024 at the beginning of the year when it was just all about Venn diagrams. It is the Taliyah final lock-in, though, for Saber, so to try to provide a little bit of that in-between from the mid lane.
And again, right, Saber's just played against Taliyah, knows exactly what this champ is going to be working with, and takes it for themselves, deciding that the Poppy Taliyah combo, which can be very lethal, but it's a lot of space denial, it's a lot of creating a nightmare for FPX, to be honest. Yeah. I like that they've, you know, pivoted in their last 2 picks, right? They've gone for a Summon Jwei to have these theoretically immobile picks, right? Yes, the Nico's going for a Proto Belt, but the idea is that they're now, you know, pivoting from that style, but they've still got 3 champions that want to dive in, 4 really with the Nico, that are all going to get stopped by Steadfast Presence, Unraveled Earth, and if those are down and if those are played around appropriately, Ultra Prime should have a good time.
And again, if the tried and true record right now in the day is to be said, it is Ultra Prime that should win this game after losing the 1v1. But it's also that kind of counter dive strategy that has turned out the victor in a lot of cases as of late. So I love to see that kind of adaptation. I love to see both teams having clear strategies going into this one.
Yeah, exactly. They both kind of have an identity. For FPX, it is a lot about diving and a lot about finding the big wombo combo. The same to be said for Ultra Prime. It's sort of about that mitigation, where they can actually play quite heavily with poke, and I'll be curious to see what Wako goes for here, because I think that their long range game is actually pretty darn powerful with the Varus poking, with Talia laying down traps, with the Rumble equalizer as well. And yeah, there we go. Comet in for Wako. Just being able to poke out from long range is really going to be something to keep our eye on.
Well, we're headed into it now. We're into game 1 of our best of 3 of the night. Winner of this best of goes straight into Group Ascend. The loser falls down to that lower bracket and awaits their challenger, the winner of the next best of 3 that we'll be playing tomorrow. So a lot riding on this series for both teams just to stay out of that group nirvana. I think FPX Ultra Prime earned their first wins on the day, very handily so, and now this one deservedly so. A very split focus between the Twitch predictions.
53% in favor of FPX, so maybe a little bit against what I'd anticipate here. I do have Ultra Prime coming into this theoretically the better team of players here, and I think that their draft has given them an opportunity to harness that. I think that FPX are all on the same page, right? Don't get me wrong, but I do think that FPX are going to struggle up against what Ultra Prime have picked in for themselves. Execution
is going to be key, trying to find those avenues, but also to get Shadow ahead of the game early. Maybe looking at this 2v2. Both junglers going to be starting on bot side though, so maybe a bit of top lane focus for them in that early pathing.
So what we have to remember as well is, despite these junglers pathing up to that top side, that this bot lane is going to be miserable for Ultra Prime to begin with. Again, only so many times we can say this. Level 1 Alistar, useless, does nothing, gets poked and dies, right? Like,
it's
you
a
have
big
to play
pile
at this
of
range.
beef.
And that's Alistar's level 1 combo, everybody.
Let's go, level 1. Hey, they got the heal, you know?
Yeah, sure. That's a win. That's a win when they're down 300 HP. I think that Wako, you know, we saw him actually do this in the last game where he just used barrier to preserve HP. Maybe a little surprised that he didn't do that this time around.
Now we see the clear speeds coming to fruition for both sides of things between Junhao and Shadow. I personally really like the Poppy into the Nefiri. We have not seen it really work out, though. I'm not going to lie. Okay,
hello.
level 2. Jwei, he overextends the play. He got the double tangle bars, but now Assume gets first blood in the end of things, and Jwei gets out. That was the ultimate bait, and FPX are off.
And also a great sidestep from Jwei. Knew that he was in trouble under the turret. Knew that there was blight stacking up from Wako. I knew that there was damage coming through, but that piercing arrow went just a little bit wide. If we get a replay, you'll have to check it out. Just a little sidestep that comes through and gives over a very easy kill. Shadow now looking in the mid lane.
Care trying to go for the taunt play here. Shadow has a lot of damage early. Get the flash out of Saber. Gets hit back by the seismic shove as well. Won't be able to find his second play, but Shadow's about to walk right into Junhao, and he dashes into him. So now Junhao might just have it, but he realizes Care can make the difference with the amount of CC chaining that he can have. Shadow will win out on the scuttle fight.
So Saber, right, with no mana in that mid lane, just can't contribute. So Shadow, even though he walks straight into the face of the Poppy, actually more than happy to take that fight, take down the scuttle on the top side, can finish off his Gromp, might even find the scuttle on the bot side as well. But this is that replay of that bot side fight. The minion dies, Jwei knows he's in trouble. It's not even blight stacks, but look at this Q.
Wow.
That he just pops back. Oh, little sidestep. Whilst max DPSing as well, Xiaojia gets hit by the Tangle Bobs, which actually connects onto both people. And then we get the little Q pop as well. It's doing so much, and like, Jwei, once again, just stepping up and playing perfectly.
And on the Nico of all things, too. Care just TP'd back to mid lane. Shadow going to get the double scuttle completion. We do have lane swaps coming through, though. Wako and Xiaoxia have gone to top side preemptively to get away from this pressure that FPX have on bot side.
Yeah, and I don't really think that Xia is particularly annoyed about this, as I say that as he's moving down into the mid lane, but they might just be looking to commit to a mega dive onto Zhong here. Yes, Junhao's here, but looking at the map, looking at where everybody's gone to, they're just forgetting about top lane, and Care walks in loud and proud. Is Junhao going to stay under the turret, or is he going to sign his top laner to death?
They're going to move out, try to get another ward there. Wave's about to be crashing. Decision needs to come here. They're moving Saber over, but he's not level 6, so he have to walk the whole way there. Looks like FPX are actually the ones that pull off, say it's not a sure thing. They don't want to go for it.
Okay, so Ultra Prime then, for the time being, sort of stand firm, bide their time, and call the bluff almost of FPX. And this is actually going to be really good for them because there's a significant amount of farm being lost on that top side. And the spread of where gold is being picked up for Ultra Prime is, you know, much larger at this stage. FPX are missing out on an entire wave of CS, so that it's getting picked up by their counterparts.
It's going to be the little in-between moments that I feel like make the most difference in this game. Oh, Saber, 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 you didn't count the minions! You always have to count the minions when it comes to the Nico. And Sub will get on the board with another kill, 2-0 to start it off for FPX's Gunslinger.
And it's Jwei once again finding the engage. He starts out perfectly with that Nico under the turret. This time round as well, knowing that if you're going to make those plays, you have to be the first melee creep through. Counting the minions isn't a surefire thing. You have to be pressing tab on every single wave to spot the highlights. See if you can see this Nico on vision. This great pathing as well. Act like a minion, finds himself a kill. Just in time for Assume to walk up to this top side and catch the wave, which UP have now begun to bounce back.
Looking back at the draft, I'm just so happy that they were kind of looking to enable Jwei. They like just letting him pick what he wanted. They even flickered through a couple different ones, but being able to lock in on the Nico and say, no, this is the one that I'm just going to mess with their brains, but I'm also going to have such big setup for the entire team. And now with those 3 early grubs for FPX, that next grub fight becomes even more important, and they're just putting pressure on this top side, playing away from the side of the dragon.
Yeah, and this Nico has been a controversial pick for Jwei. Has had great successes, has had equally quite low success rates when taking the champion, but so far in this game has been exactly on point. 0-0-2, no deaths, even though he got flash pulled under the turret. Seems to be in a very good position, and so far so good for the you know, first year. Look away, look away, look away. Turn off
Nothing
the stream.
nothing happened. Junhao, nothing happened. Your screen is tearing, and for some reason that minion got in the way. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Well, he was just taking a picture or a play out of Shanji's book from yesterday, where he was just flashing and hitting the thing that he wasn't supposed to.
That feels okay. Now, okay.
He's not the first minion. Yeah.
It's not. It's not gonna be the same. I think it's a little bit more obvious that time around.
Yeah.
That being said, they're still going to keep presence down here on the
bottom.
No, take a look back.
No,
we get the slow-mo zoom in. Woo, baby.
Oh, me when I hate Poppy players.
No! Oh, my God. And the minion didn't even get the wall either. That's the funniest part about the whole thing to me. Oh, he's going to want that one back. Junhao, though he's in a lot of trouble. They got Care coming over. Bullet time, but it gets stopped. 2-man seismic shove there as well, and Shadow's just chasing Junhao. Wako is coming a little bit late out, goes with the flash play, gets the kill there, as now FPX running for the hills. Saber couldn't find the damage, and unfortunately Shadow fell after all of that.
Yeah, 1 for 1 in the long run, so, I mean, that's not that bad for either side. I think that the fact that Wako flashed is actually the big deal. FPX also coming out on top because they get a little bit of time with these plates for Sheer. So for FPX, I think just the small advantages here. They'll know that the Varus flash. They also got the flash out of Saber as well. So small wins, as little as they come, but definitely very valuable. And Junhao sends his blue buff to Narnia instead of the Neferi, who's able to go invulnerable and sort of duck her way out of it. And then Wako flashes in, he gets the kill. That's all that matters, really. We don't need to talk about the fact that his ulti didn't connect.
Then why did you talk about it? Rude?
I don't know what you're talking about, Mazel. I didn't mention anything like that.
Nothing happened here. Nothing at all. About a minute until that next grub spawn comes up. You have to think Ultra Prime want to reposition over to that side of the map. Nobody's taking the dragon just yet. There are some pings down that way for Ultra Prime, but it does not seem like that will be the biggest prevalent objective in this game number 1. As you were showing off there earlier, they got a little bit of history here between some of them.
Yeah, I mean, Jwei also was on Ultra Prime after playing for BLG Junior, so the sort of BLG Junior scouting grounds are certainly churning out.
Prime.
It's just all BLG, right? There's a bit of a comparison to be drawn in English soccer, which I'll not get into. But the idea that BLG Junior is actually Ultra Prime Junior, it's a nice little thing to think about.
That's what it truly is. The pipeline's truly working. We are on first items for some members of FPX before we get into this fight for the grubs. The redeploys have already been signaled. We have Sheer with TP coming back out the top lane. Of big importance. We have the Eclipse for Shadow. We got the Bloodthirster for Assume. Grubs started up by Ultra Prime here, Rude.
Remember that Wall is available for Saber if he wants to try to cut them off. Playing on this pink ward here, Zhaozhia as well, looking for an engage. If they can defend this banana bush, it could be a good fight for them.
Keeper's Verdict used, but that's just care, and he's about to have Heroic Entrance. The last grub is there. Sheer decides to kick off the fight. Heroic Entrance is in. Junhao gets that last grub to a split. 3-man knockup from Zhaozhia, though, and FPX are fighting tooth and nail, though. They have split the fight a little bit, and now Shadow is in a 1v2, but has Saber blocking off the rest of the team. You had assumed take down Junhao in the end, and maybe they could chase Shadow going a little bit overhand, loses a couple of doggies, but that should be FPX's advantage.
So a 2-0, and the grubs, in fairness, do get picked up, but Zhang now.
What a 2v3, Sheer taking the angle here. I think Care's about to go down, but Shadow is there to help secure the kill. Sheer is up taking down Young. I have no idea how that even started off with that angle, but Ultra Prime are punished.
Yes, and for honestly illegal behavior, to be honest with you. Ultra Prime, once again, Junhao, the only target you can't knock away here is the Galio, because he's got this global ultimate to just rejoin the fight immediately. Sheer, just such a good position. The Gwen Galio combo has been lethal for so many years, and at this stage, the idea that getting it to work out to perfection is difficult. It is just a novel concept, and for FPX, they find a couple of kills. They don't get all of the grubs, unfortunately, but they're able to get a couple of the early ones and then find themselves in what is now a 2,000 gold lead. So small advantages across the board, but one that you'd like to see snowballed.
And we were talking about kind of the differentiation between the compositions and the kind of dive potential that FPX had in a lot of regards to what Shadow can kind of kick off for them. And that lead is going to help feel confident in that factor. Dragon did just get started up by Junhao, but I don't think he can actually stay to start it up, or finish it rather, because the rest of FPX are surrounding that side of the map.
And I think that's probably what they should be looking for, right? When you've got this lead, you don't really want to let it go necessarily. And for me, with Sheer being quite far ahead, with Assume being quite far ahead, this is a pretty decent showcase for FPX, right? This is one of the few teams that made roster changes coming into split number 2, and when we're looking at what we get for Sheer in particular and for Assume in particular as well, the idea that they've swapped their AD carries with EDG and then moved into a successful spot really, and potentially into a position where they can move into the ascent stage, pretty darn good.
Yeah, pretty awesome to see, and a little bit of a engage here now on bot side from Shadow, going untargetable. Still not able to get the kill. Sheer tanked that turret shot. Now Shadow is just playing like a demon.
Oh, double
knock just gone a little too him. FPX are full committing to this. Oh my god! Venn diagrams of death unleashed again by the Phoenix, and they'll find more picks.
And there we go. I mean, Junhao here not quite able to get in and really do anything there. So nice to see that the Ultra Prime squad are attempting to fight back, but even nicer to see that there's a successful bout from FPX that stops them in their tracks.
Now, the theme of the day, the word of the day that we came into these matches with was consistency. And seeing these kinds of performances from FPX, not only that first game we saw, but now kind of following it up with good macro decisions. I mean, that is a breath of fresh air for this team.
Yeah, it really is. And it's not just one player in particular as well. This feels like the most consistent we've seen the majority of the FPX roster. There's not particularly been an instance where I've gone, ooh, this player shouldn't really have been there, or that, you know, Shadow, I think, who were on the Xin Zhao in, you know, the best of one that they played, probably was the closest that we got to, but that felt like maybe just me not understanding the limits and Shadow actually having the better read on what he could and couldn't get away with. So actually quite happy with how FPX have played in the, you know, the last 24 hours or so. I've had a pretty decent run of things.
Pretty decent indeed. Gonna try to finish it out strong. But I know we're going to 3 games here anyways, so we gotta expect a little bit of longevity for FPX to show that grittiness and come back and get that spot in Ascend. FPX though, they'll just be farming it up. I mean, you've got Shadow up CS over Junhao. You've got CS differential for bot lane as well. Now Xiaoxia getting caught out. Maybe Junhao can help him over the wall. He's lost about half his health. Unbreakable is down. Now TP coming in for Ultra Prime. Shadow might get caught. You don't get the pop blossom. The TP got stopped in the top lane though as well. And now Shadow is going insano here.
Oh my
He's
gosh.
got dogs and they barking. I think try to get the hail there from Assume. He gets the flash play. And nice little bounce. It's Junhao now going down low. And bullet time just used for the mental damage there. And FPX go to 11-3 in kills.
Zhong forced to flash out on the top side as well. I think he may have even found a solo in the back half of this, but that's a very small silver lining for what is an incredible fight once again for FPX. Just the aggression coming out of this Neferi. Like, I don't know how many times we need to say this. This champ is pretty darn good. It might just need to be a red side staple. And Shadow has proven that he's either put the time in on it or knows exactly what it is that he needs to be doing.
All right.
This is that 1v1 on the top side.
Oh, Young, come on.
He does turn this round, though. He does make Care pay.
He does, but...
The flash over the equalizer on the top. Yeah, okay. You Care... he did this for the team.
He did this for the team. Because it does make a difference. Like, if that TV goes through, it's actually probably a game changer.
Yeah, no, it genuinely is, right? Like, imagine equalizer in a big choke like this, or...
Oh, he didn't get the wall bang. Oh.
Junhao's Poppy has left a little bit to be desired. And
it's live!
Yeah. Saber's dead.
Dude,
Jwei
they
looks to
just
pick that one
can't stop, man. It is just oppressive.
And Shadow's still going, right? Like, just aggressively sort of flexing his chest almost and knowing, all right, well, I'm going to keep vibing. I'm going to keep going for this. And that is really what you want to see. It's when you've got this lead, not letting it go is such a powerful tool that very few, I won't say very few people, but that most people won't really look to leverage.
More turrets falling there. More siege to be done, as the Rift Herald did get used in topside. Not going to get too much back from it. Second items are coming through for FPX now. And this lead ballooning up to over 5,000 gold. 18 minutes in. A massive differential being developed here by FPX. And they have the tickets to go again. They got all ultimates. There's a dragon up on the table. Shadow is just running through the enemy side of the jungle. Might have picked off a little bit more than he could chew. Does get taken down by Wako there. Assume still in the fight. Sheer getting the heroic entrance as here comes Care with the double taunt. No, only one, but the pop blossom onto 2. Trying to lock down Saber. They end up getting the tank Xiaoxia. Junhao goes back in for the claim kill onto Jwei, and FPX, I mean, they're playing a little reckless.
Yeah, that was that instance that I was talking about. Okay, Shadow, you're a little too far forward here, and that not really going to cost FPX that much, but it's definitely a worrying sign, an indicator that UP aren't all out of this game just yet. A fan of the fact that we're able to get a couple of kills back, and Ultra Prime not out fully. Really good heads-up play. Ultra Prime thinking, okay, well, Wako stepped up here. We have to try to defend him. Chain of Corruption instantly into the wall bang from the Steadfast Presence, and even with the flash, there's just that little bit of damage coming through. Red buff plus the equalizer managed to take one down. Good response from Jwei as well to try to buy a little bit of space, but ultimately steps in just that little bit too far forward. If you've caught Young there, maybe it's a little different, but it's again Saber with another really solid team fight where he's just catching there, a little flick back, pulls Jwei back in and takes him down as well.
Just a little side note. Junhao, he hit 2 wall bangs in a row there. Let's go.
Let's go.
A little comeback.
Poppying. We're poppying how we're supposed to be.
We are getting equivalents of the second items for some members of Ultra Prime now, but Atacon looks like it's the target for FPX. They have a lot of strength, especially with Assume down there on 2 items with that Essence Reaver.
So Jwei can turn into... Yeah, this thing's gone. TP's in. Saber's not TPing to respond.
There's dogs everywhere. Okay. It is secured by a shadow, but they will lose Jwei immediately. Bullet time really doesn't get anything there. Trying to get as many of the blood roses as they can. Care trying to get out the other side as well. Jwei will pay his life. Now they're going to cut them off. This is a big play from Ultra Prime. And a huge steadfast presence flash from Junhao. They're going to clean up Shadow. Shadow can't get anything, and Assume's going to go down too. And these are the chaos moments that we expect in this qualifier match.
FPX throw their lead again. The fight around the Atacon does not go their way, and it's Ultra Prime sniffing blood in the water, deciding that they've got a lethal injection that they can deal to FPX and dealing it mighty strong.
Wow, just picking up on the throw from FPX there, like you were kind of mentioning. Chains of Corruption onto Jwei. Really nice fade away from Wako.
And they've got so much space here. This is FPX trying to overextend and overstay their welcome. They could have just used that space from Shadow, from Assume, to pick up these roses and try to bail out. Junhao already failed on the ulti, this Poppy Copter, to get people out of fight. But not really looking for the right fight, not having that opportunity to get a good engagement, and Jiang cashing in on the Assume shutdown here. Now finds himself with a fully completed Void Staff as well as that Leandri's. And, you know, the chances for FPX, they're slowly getting smaller and smaller.
They are indeed. That lead that was getting a little bit too far out in front of Ultra Prime is now cut down to size, only about 2,000 gold up. Still some big item completions there for FPX to keeping up some pressure, but it seems like they're going to be a little bit more humble now moving on to the Rift, especially like Shadow.
Yeah, that was the warning, I think, more so than anything else. It doesn't change how they are. It doesn't change that they are ahead. It changes how far ahead they are, but it means that they need to be much more cognizant of how they take these fights in the future. So hopefully they can play with a little bit more tentatively, and they can play that cautiously, but still with the same level of aggression, just maybe better exerted overall.
Yeah, maybe not Shadow jumping into 3 or 2 people randomly by himself. That might help things. I don't know.
Could end up with them having more success. Yes, more success.
And we actually see Shadow moving into the topside jungle, trying to clear out some of this warding here, but FPX taking these next moments very slowly. There is, though, in about a minute and a half, a dragon spawning. It is another Infernal Soul on the day, but it would be a soul point for FPX that Ultra Prime do not want to give over.
So, attentions toward the bot side of the Rift. They spawn, like you say, right, alongside that Baron, which is about 10 seconds desynced. Would like to see Infinity Edge picked up for Assume as well before any real skirmishes start to come to bear. He's probably got the gold for it, just needs to try and find a reset for that timer. Mirror Mana picked up for Wako as well, so this virus now a little bit more unleashed as he picks up another Serrated Dirk just to add a little bit of extra bang for his buck. But Ultra Prime still decidedly behind in this game, still definitely going to be struggling, and we're looking at the build paths as well for Ultra Prime. Would really like to see this Locket get finished into, or rather, this Aegis get picked up and start to see Junhao have that second item finished as well, because this Poppy, not particularly tanky right now, needs that second item before we're really expecting any sort of stopping power in the front line.
And once he gets tanky, I think it'll feel really nice. You do get that second item completion there, but you'll just be able to space Shadow out even more. I think that's like your one job. The reason why you grab the Poppy into the Neferi matchup is because of that steadfast presence that you can just lock down Neferi. And Junhao gonna have to find a way to do that now. Dragon is on the horizon. Under 10 seconds to spawn.
And again, this is one where Ultra Prime they can give this if they don't feel confident to take this fight. And when they see Assume's items and see 3-item misfortune, I'd be scared as well. But walking around, this banana bush is completely unwarded. FPX have got all the control around this river, and they've even warded their flanks to make sure that there's no unique angle for them to get in. I think this should just be a gift for Ultra Prime here.
Now hovering around, but don't need to hover too long. They might get in trouble if they do. TP's coming in. Shadow just going to dash over the wall. I think that's a bold TP setup, but both TPs will end up being used by the top laners. Jwei is just a little puppy. He's going to throw the Tangle Barb there, try to get some mid lane presence from FPX. I don't think this is a situation where FPX are super confident to just burn down the Baron, but it's getting closer to that fact.
Yeah, and I mean, the issue that they've got is that their damage comes from their jungler, and typically, you know, the jungler might be one who wants to look to tank it. Maybe the Gwen can deal some good damage as well, in fairness, but their AD carry is not a Baron killing AD carry, nor is their mid lane, and those are typically the two areas of the map that you look to for success. But it's worth saying as well that in this game, where coming into the day we were looking at FPX and highlighting Sheer and Shadow in particular, that Shadow here with this 1.8k gold advantage, 2 items on the Neferi, 4-3 and 3 had been a large linchpin of why the early game had gone so well. Needs to just dial it in a little bit, right? He's got these 3 neutral objectives in those dragons, but in recent history was a little bit of a reason why FPX have stopped that snowball, just dashing in a little too aggressively, a little too overzealously, and just needs to rein that back in just a little bit before we can start to see those successes happen again.
And that's been a little bit of the story that we've seen, honestly, for both junglers a little bit, but to some extent Shadow as well in his track record, and maybe even a reason why he didn't consistently have a starting spot over these last couple of years. But now, here on FPX, he's definitely wrestled control of that, and now FPX with him at the helm of a carry jungler can make the difference here if he could just play it a little bit smoothly.
Shadow spotted here, trying to put some deep vision down. Takes 1 piercing arrow to the face, loses about 300-400 HP. But not going to worry about that too much with the Hex Drinker in the back pocket as well. The damage coming through from Zhang and Saber going to be significantly reduced, and clearly not too worried about the consistent DPS of Wako, as Junhao here throwing the buckler will catch a little bit of a heal based off of that Sunderer. And now it's business as usual for both of these two teams. Back to catching waves, waiting for a Drake to spawn, because neither one of them is going to start the Baron.
We're too scared. We're too scared. Also, just don't want to throw away game number 1 of the game, especially with the track record of blue side. I think FPX definitely have a little bit more wariness to throw this game away, because especially they get the Gwen, the Neferi. Could you imagine losing in this meta with those 2 picks?
It would be shocking, to be honest, and especially given this game's context as well, right? Like, they came out with a heavy lead. They were winning this game for the most part, and I think it's sort of well played on both sides. Ultra Prime have ceased that aggression, but also Ultra Prime were, you know, starting to swing that metronome right back in their favor, but FPX stopped that momentum in its tracks. I think that right now we've reached this sort of neutral point. Feels like both of these sides are pretty scared for trying to take a fight against one another. Neither one of them particularly knowing who is actually stronger.
I think if you had to look at what we were talking about from draft, I definitely still really like Ultra Prime's objective setup at an even state, and as time goes on, potentially even more so. But the individuality of FPX is working for them, as he's going to get the charge here. Try to get the double taunt over the wall. Can't do it. Xiaoxi is going low. Bullet time there onto Junhao. Junhao charged back into the bullet time. He's still alive, though. Shadow gets out with a little bit of his chunked health. It's going to be some flashes burn, some summoner spells burn, but that's about it.
Yeah, maybe Baron, honestly, for FPX. Lots of low HP bars, but
they're scared.
They are, man. They force TP out from Zhang as well, and Blue Ward goes in to spot out that they're not doing this. I think kudos to Xiaoxia in that fight, by the way, because he protects Zhang with his life. Doesn't end up even having to give it up, but just body blocking the Galio so that he can never get in and find the taunt onto the Rumble, which probably would have taken down Zhang. pretty darn important. FPX, they did take their reset, and if you look at the Drake timer, you'll begin to recognize why, because if they'd have spent a little bit too much time dilly-dallying around the Baron, any potential contests mean that they don't get Soul. This Dragon here feels like a much more surefire thing. It's also a lot lower stakes. If they lose this Drake, not the end of the world, and if they get it, they get Soul.
They get the slowdown here on the other side of the fight. I will say, before the scoreboard went away, we didn't get third item completions for a couple members of FPX, so the fight still could be pretty even for Ultra Prime. It's all about execution.
A pretty big chunk. Care has been doing so well at being the one absorbing these Keeper's verdicts, making sure that he can ulti back in. So as long as Care is the one standing point and center, FPX should be good.
Shadow's on the weird side of this fight. Needs to be a little careful. Into the Pot Blossom, into the knockback from Xiaoxia. He just saved that fight. Dragon denied by Ultra Prime. Now they actually try to find the fight on the Shadow. Sheer going in. Sheer going with the Unstoppable. Going at least a little ham here. Needlework is in there. And heroic entrance too. Junhao about to lose his life. FPX. They've got Assume leading the charge, and now Shadow gets the resets, and that is off to the races, off to town, and a triple kill for Assume.
It's a bullet time to start the fight and a triple kill to end it. Assume destroys Ultra Prime, and is going to send FPX to 1-0 in this game. A clean 5-4-0 ace in the bot side. Dragon be damned, they take the game.
It felt a little dicey here or there. FPX did not feel confident, but damn, did it look good in the end. They just catch one slip up of Ultra Prime, and they just end the game. Almost 10,000 gold up, and that is a first game win for FPX. One win away from Group Ascend.
Coming into today, right, FPX may be one of the teams that I was definitely least hyped on, but I mean, they are now one game away from being a part of that top 10 teams, and the pack of 10 teams that get to play so many more games of LPL next split, or for split number 2. And coming off the back of, honestly, some really solid early game play from Junhao, from Jwei, excuse me. That Nico, right, started off the fights, and started off the snowball, particularly for Assume, who 2-0 to begin the game, felt quite confident, was moving around the map, and then in the late game, Assume was like, thank you very much, support, you've done your hard work, now let me step in, now let me carry, and did exactly that.
Yep, and it feels good for FPX's side of things to be able to see these strengths, to see Sheer still, man, having such powerful impacts, but it's really the entire composition, the entire team. Yes, maybe playing a little bit, little too rough for Shadow there, but the rest of the team able to keep kind of stable enough to enable those kinds of moments and let Shadow go off the leash a little bit, pun intended.
Yeah, literally, right? Like, he kind of got overzealous in a couple of instances and got punished appropriately, but FPX sort of righted the ship. Maybe, you know, somebody else sort of reined it back in. It's like, okay, calm. We've still got time here. We don't need to throw like that. And making sure that when we got to the critical juncture, the team fight that was necessary, that the rest of FPX were ready. And for the most part as well, felt like that was a series of ultis going wide and not quite connecting, right? Xiaoxia knocking away Jwei with the Pot Blossom, not really finding any purchase with that, but Junhao as well, Keeper's Verdict goes wide, means that it is a 5 versus 5, and the flash follow to try and connect onto Shadow, not quite making the impact that it needs to. Just so many small little things, and it's those players that are having the successful execution on team fights that aren't missing their skill shots and that are right-clicking appropriately. Assume, in particular, going crazy.
On the misfortune too, out of all things, in a very difficult matchup, I think with the Poppy, the Alistar, like it just feels really difficult to layer that damage down. There were some tough ones to get in there, but he had some really good ones in the end. And when you see this version of FPX, you're like, I could see them taking a game or two off some of the top teams in that Ascend group, and it gets you excited. It gets you excited for this run from Group C all the way to Group Ascend.
Yeah, exactly. Like they've had an absolute nightmarish sort of run of games, and for their group stage, right? They took one game against OMG, they then found one against NIP as well. Maybe came into this as, you know, for me, again, for my money, one of the weaker teams in this bracket, but just goes to show you that, well, I don't know what I'm talking about, to be honest.
Show up
FPX,
on the day, I guess. That's all
they're
that really
doing
matters.
exactly what they're supposed to.
Yeah, we'll take a look back at some of this. We'll see some of those overzealous moments from Shadow, but then sometimes it just worked out for him.
No, absolutely. And with Shadow here, you can just see flashing on top, just recognizing he's doing what he needs to, right? Like, I'm finding this Poppy, and maybe the need is the wrong word, but want is maybe better, because he's just devastating this Poppy at every given turn. And Junhao, I think, you know, ups and downs on the Poppy. There were certainly some very good keeper's verdicts that got a good fight start, and some good wall bangs as well to catch people off guard. But there are also instances like this, and you know, the keeper's verdicts that don't quite connect, and them on being on to care, for example. Yeah. So it's a tricky one for Junhao. I think he'll know as well that mechanically there were a couple really important moments that he didn't quite connect on. So for Ultra Prime, there's not necessarily a they're clearly better than us moment, but definitely some instances where you can think, yeah, we could have done a little better.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the Nefiri question has to remain. The Nefiri question has to be the, like, in group Ascend Nirvana, like, please. I do not want to see this champion just easily led over and given free wins to, because you can see how much pressure it has in the jungle. The clear speed is insane. You have to keep tabs on it at all times, and you have to stay proactive. And with all the objectives, everything else going on the map, it's so hard to keep up.
Yeah, and I mean, the way that this fight breaks out on the top side as well, it's Jwei finding a double route with the Tangle Barbs to connect and to lock up Saber to take him down, because the late game Talia as well, no shy of damage, could have probably carried that team fight if he was able to kite appropriately, but got caught by a Tangle Barb. Jwei once again may not have found the perfect engage with the ulti, but found the route where he needed to, and it's just these small skill shots, small successful pieces that end up making the puzzle look real good for FPX.
Yeah, and it was Jwei's final pick there with the Nico to kind of lock it in. Even got that play on mid lane on the Saber with the counting minions tech thing going on. Who gets MVP though? Who do you think?
Again, this one, I could honestly give this to Assume. I could give this to Care as well for body blocking really well. I could give it to Jwei for the early game proactivity. So, yeah.
Assume.
Yeah, good. I'm happy. For the one time, the Nefiri didn't go absolutely crazy. Oh, it did go crazy, but it also
went crazy, but then he also inted, so you know.
Yeah, can't give him that. Assume was consistent, and I think for a player like Assume as well, it's really important, you know, being traded over and then performing like this.
Absolutely, that FPX one step away from that group ascend saving grace. Ultra Prime needing something to come back into this one. We'll see you after.